Hey, why is that so close?
All right.
Hey, everyone. All right. Welcome to Social Business Hour. I don't even know what the day is. We are so off our normal realm is because, as you can see, the Social Business Hour team, we've known each other now in person hour and a half. So this is tuning into Social Business Hour, a rare occasion. We are all in San Diego. We met for the first time after a year and a half together, working together. So welcome to Social Business Hour on whatever day this is. Social Media San Diego Day is tomorrow. So I think today's June 29th?
June 29th.
I know it's Monday. We do this every Monday at 4 p.m. So what's up, everyone? Took advice first thing this morning. All right. So we are streaming, of course, on Meerkat, Periscope, and Google Hangouts, Twitter chats, everywhere else you can imagine. Our amazing community manager, Christin Kardos, is here. She is rocking out in person. So today's topic, we're talking about hard work, drive, and passion. As always, joined usually on the other side of the United States by my co-host, Rachel Miller. How are you, Rachel?
I'm awesome. It's a little bit surreal with you guys actually beside me. It's like I don't need to type like my comments to keep the show going or what's going on Twitter. I can just go, what's going on Twitter? Super cool, super excited. And this topic is near and dear to our hearts. And it kind of plays into why we started this show and what keeps us motivated to get up and do this and all of our other hustles. So I'm excited to get questions from the community and let's kick it off.
You heard that. So Periscope, Meerkat, Google+, Twitter chat. Add your questions. Hashtag SBizHour on the Twitters, of course. Hashtag SBizHour. We're talking hard work, drive, passion. We've been doing this for about a year and a half every single Monday. And in the crazy world that we live, any of the three of us had never met each other until today. So it's been a lot of hard work and a lot of community building and a lot of engagement. All that hard work kind of pays off today when it was like seeing best friends for the first time, which is pretty awesome in the scheme of things. So I think we have our first question, Christin Kardos, who I always talk about Christin as the baddest community manager on Twitter, Periscope, Meerkat, the whole gang. So now you get to see her in person, her badassness. So what's the first question we have right now? Why don't you throw it out?
So question one, there's a big difference between activity and productivity. How would you define working hard?
All right. So it's out on the Twitters. How would you define working hard? So, I mean, I think the idea of being busy is something that early on you kind of think that being busy is something that makes it sound like you're successful. If you're not busy, you're not successful. I think that's something you kind of think early on after college. I think I remember, I used to think that I took 12 credits every semester because that was the minimum they let me take. I never took 18, which was, I guess, the maximum. But I also realized that, the idea of being busy and then using busy as an excuse are two different things. So for me, I think hard work is usually defined not by what you talk about being busy, but really what you accomplish.
Yeah, I think most people know this, but when someone responds, when I ask them how they're doing, and they're like, oh, I'm busy. I'm like, who's not? So I think for me, it shows it's your actions, like your body of work. What can you look back on at the end of the day? And that's something I know for me. I'm very calendar driven, so I know what I've accomplished. I can look back at the week, and I'm really proud of what I get done. I'm very task orientated. But again, it's like using your time wisely, like especially when you have multiple hustles, you really have to put things in hour blocks and be smart about your time. And that even if you have one hustle, you still need to calendar out things.
No, I agree. And Jim McCoy said out there, he said productivity is accomplishing your goals.
Yes.
Which is very true. And then I see out here on the Meerkat is that we have busy isn't the same as hard work from, it's Be Relevant Social, who will be at Social Media Day San Diego tomorrow. So thank you for chiming in. So what about you, Christin Kardos? Christin, you manage multiple hustles. So how do you consider hard work?
I liked both of your answers. But what I would add to that is that for me, it's a moving target, trying to keep on the productive side. I have days where I feel like I've spent too much time on activity and not enough on productivity. So I'm constantly trying to stay in the correct lane with it. I don't know if other people have that same issue, but I do, just to be honest. I mean,
Well, I mean, again, like to be a good community manager, there's a lot of activity involved with that. Like you're playing the long game every day. Like the multiple touches leads up to the big win. So
Julie Sue just jumped in and said, "Oh, me too." That's what she said. And I openly admit that my goals for 2016 or 2015, 2016 will probably be a goal too. That's such a bad truth there. But I embrace transparency from the standpoint of prioritization and understanding what prioritization really means when it comes to hard work. Because I feel like I can work really hard and be productive, but I'm not reaching what I want to be successful in. So I'm accomplishing goals and accomplishing tasks, but not often all the ones that need to get me to where I want to be. So for me, and I think productivity for me, what I learned on productivity is you have to be able to say no first, because if you say yes to everything, it's impossible to prioritize a moving target that always is kind of evolving. But for me, that's one of the things that I've learned. I know, Rachel, you've helped me with that on not only prioritizing, but understanding the importance of, I think what's the quote? I don't remember who said the quote, but by saying no, you're saying yes to yourself. That is something that I have on a sticky note and on my computer monitor at my house. So I think that's something that that is really key. But yeah, and everyone that's out there, I see lots of questions about. So it's hashtag SBizHour on Twitter if you want to join the Twitter conversation. We are on Periscope and Meerkat, so thank you for the hearts, swiping left, swiping right, all that nonsense with retweeting on that as well. So we see some comments coming in. I know Christin, because she's the badass community manager, is rocking these Twitters as well. So she'll pull in some questions you guys have. If you have questions on the Periscope and Meerkat, we're going to bring those into it as early. I didn't learn to say no until I had children. That's a very interesting, and we all three have children.
I relate to that. I do. I relate to that.
Well, I learned to say no a lot earlier than that. I think it was probably the first word that came out of my mouth was no.
Oh, that's funny. And well, and Euro Maestro on Periscope just said, he often finds a lot of people are afraid to say yes. And I've actually been the opposite. I've been afraid to say no. I want to please the world. And by trying to please the world, I figure out that I please a lot less people that I care more about. So like by trying to please so many, I please less. And I think it's that whole, it's funny because I preach about with social personal branding, like it's better to be great on a few places than good everywhere. And I think that's kind of the same way when we're talking about hard work and productivity, because I think when you're accomplishing and you're knocking them out 110% of your goal every time, that's way better than an 80% on 50 goals. And I think that's hard. It's something I still struggle with today.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's another song about that, like you can't please all the people all the time.
And the same thing on that.
It plays into like everything you do needs to play into your personal goals, because nobody cares more about you than you. And I think that's a hard lesson that I've had to learn over and over, is you got to put yourself first, especially professionally, because your boss isn't looking out for you. He's looking out for the bottom line. And there's some amazing bosses out there, but at the end of the day, they're looking out for themselves too. So everything you do, make sure you put yourself first, leads to your end goal.
No, and Jim McCloy again on Periscope. Jim, you dropped 2 knowledge bombs. I think you might be limited on your knowledge bombs very soon. But Jim actually just said, but when saying no, you have to recalibrate expectations. And that's something that I've heard a lot from a lot of people that are helping coach me from a standpoint of how you're not only setting expectations out the gate, but I mean, and this is one I would be curious to hear what everyone on Twitter and all the different places had to say, was when you are recalibrating expectations, how do you do that when you've already set an expectation at a certain level? I think that's one that I think is very interesting, and hopefully I didn't kill.
Well, I mean, I guess for me, like, I don't feel like I ever say no. Definitely not like upfront and flippantly. It's usually I'll be like, yeah, I'm super stoked, thank you for the opportunity, and then I go back and I look at like my calendar, what's going on, how does that play into what I'm working on. And if you do end up having to say no, it's kind of like I don't know, it should be a win for everybody. Like, it's not just like they're going to be sad. It's more just that, or you suggest somebody else, which again, I think is a good.
One thing I think is important too is knowing what your goals are, even if they change along the way, knowing what they are and tying your decisions to those. And that can be challenging, especially when sometimes you might have to say no to something you actually kind of want to do. It might not just be that I don't want to do this. It might be that it's just not the best choice. And that sounds a little bit first world problem, but it might not be the best choice to get to where you're really trying to go.
Oh, and Chelsea says, say no, back it up, and you're good. I think that's an interesting point too, because I say no, or there you go, give an option A and an option B. That's an interesting way of doing it. So what do we have? What's question 2 we have for the Twitter? And we actually have a special guest cameo in the room as well. Vincenzo, come over here. Sit right here. We have actually another part of the family. Vincenzo Landino is in the house as well. Vincenzo, host of MCO Talk.
That's me.
If you're on Meerkat, you know him as Vincat. He is in the house as well. So
Captain America, you got that right.
Captain America, yes.
What's up? Who is that?
That is Lisa.
Tamara. No.
Oh, it's Tamara? Oh, hey,
Yeah.
Tamara.
Tamara?
Is here as well.
Yeah.
Hey.
Thank you guys for sharing. And
Thank you.
This is like a big group love fest, as you guys can see. But
Yeah,
none of us had met. Actually, these two had met
We met.
briefly like a month ago.
Dallas.
They met like a month ago. But yeah, that's what it's all about. So what's question 2?
All right, question 2. What role does passion play in professional success in general?
All right, we're gonna give that one. And Vincenzo was not prepped with the question, so we're gonna give it to Vincenzo.
I literally just walked in the room. I have no idea. What's the question? One more time?
What role does passion play in professional success?
Oh, jeez. I mean, passion is everything, really.
I was like, oy vey. I was ready to say, what
Oy
should we do
vey.
it?
Are we kvetching
I mean, really, without passion, people can read right through the bullshit, and we can swear on the show, right?
Yes.
Okay. So people can read
It's on the
right through.
internet.
We had Nathan Haig. We had to
Yeah.
say, wow.
We-
The ship has left the port, my
Yes.
friend.
We had to change the byline. after that.
People will be able to read through you, and there's many out there that are
You're
great at
out of
slinging
your
it.
own
I know you're
show.
out of your own.
It's all right.
Photo now.
That's what they prefer.
And you know what? Having passion is something that people will notice, and they've noticed people like Brian Fanzo, where passion just oozes out of every pore in this man's body. People see that, they want to work with someone that has passion, someone who's excited, somebody who lives, eats, sleeps, breathes, the purpose of whatever it is that he's involved with, and that's what brands and companies and in the case of personal branding or personal branding, number one right here. Hands down.
Oh,
So-
okay.
It's based on passion.
Don't confuse. And Cam, I respect and represent
Hey,
that.
you're
Cam said.
No, I'm just-
Cam said. She
You're
said,
welcome.
don't confuse
Like
over-caffeinated energy for passion. And actually, I think that's actually probably something that's a very good point.
absolutely.
Because I think a lot of people, and I'll represent the shirt because this is.
I'll represent my shirt too.
Yeah, you're Captain America, but I got do what you love what you do. And part of that was, I remember for me, a big deal was I was chasing my purpose, what I thought was my purpose. And when I realized what my passion was, and my passion wasn't technically aligned to what I thought my purpose was at the time, it really helped me to realize that if I switch to focus on my passion, I will never be burnt out. And I saw someone say that on Periscope and Meerkat as well. For me, they always ask, Brian, how do you not sleep? Brian, how are you doing what you're doing? And part of that is I absolutely love what I'm doing, but at the same time, burnout isn't something that I think when you're fueled with passion that is even possible. Maybe that's just my assumption.
No, burnout happens when you're the one that's always, you're slinging the fakeness, the BS, and that's when you burn out because you can only keep that up for so long. It's like a lie. I mean, you can only keep one up for so long before you start confusing it. And passion will always come out as 100%. Yep, agree. Oh, agree with you 100%. Yeah, if you have passion, it comes through everywhere. So I agree, Brian. That's nice. I'm trying.
What about you, Rachel? What are you from the standpoint?
What is happening? So much.
I might disagree on the burnout. I think
That's what I was
burnout
asking.
comes down to knowing your capacity. And I think all of us in this room have we're a lot more capable of hustling, like doing multiple things that, look at, if you could show what we've got going on.
Show how many screens are going on.
It's ridiculous. But again, like having a passion
Screens.
and purpose really does motivate you to get up and do it. But if you overextend yourself and overcommit, you can definitely get burnt out no matter how much passion you have.
Well, I guess, so we were debating earlier. So you guys that are out there, I'd love to hear what your concept is. What do you guys think about the word passion and then the word drive? Right? We were discussing, we were
They're
using
different.
hard work, drive, and passion. So someone said, sometimes passion means you don't know when to stop. That's interesting. I would actually think of that as drive from my standpoint, because your drive is sometimes blinded by the idea that you're not focusing on your passion, but you disagree.
No, I do, because I think drive is what gets, like, you get up every day to go and do something. And it doesn't even have to be work related. It's like you go to the gym, you got drive, you got gumption, whatever you want to call it.
Gusto.
Gusto.
I like gusto.
Passion. I think you can truly be blinded by passion. You get so swept up in what you want to achieve that you forget to step back and step outside the bubble. And
passion is really
and look
emotional.
out and ask for help when you need it. I think a lot of people forget that you can ask for help. And
Someone said passion, what you do whenever you're paid or not paid to do something. That's interesting.
I like what Ben Phillips said. He said, passion comes from a deeper place than just superficial excitement. Passion doesn't burn you out because it's part of you.
But someone mentioned here on buying your Periscope that you can have passion and not get off the couch, right? Or no, is that not true?
Oh.
I guess it depends if
You can have passion for something.
Yes.
It doesn't drive is what's going to
It's
get
true.
you off your ass.
Yeah, I think you need to have a healthy dose of both. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Passion, you can be passionate about certain topics, but drive is what's going to make you donate. It's going to make you go and make a difference.
Jeff,
Yeah,
you
but so I mean,
can't teach passion or drive.
You can't teach passion or drive. So that's interesting because one of the things that I was offended by early on in my career was someone made a comment, and this was at a very prestigious event where I was presenting. They said, Brian, you're so passionate, you could read the phone book to us and become across as passionate. And I felt like, wow, I'm that fake that people would think I could be passionate about a phone book. Like, I was offended by that. Now, looking back at it, I think they looked at it as me. I feel like I can invest in something no matter what it is and find a way for me to be excited about it. But I kind of look at that as drive for me to be, like, I have a drive every day to do something good, right? But I would say passion comes into it of what I really want to do compared to what I'm just going to.
Well, there's a difference. Like, puppies are enthusiastic. People are enthusiastic. That's not passion.
Right.
Like, you can read the phone book super emphatically, but
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
not passion.
So maybe they were using the word, they were replacing passion with my excitement, right? It's like the idea.
Well, that's what someone just said.
Yeah, that was Julie Sue. Julie Sue, good job. And someone said, haha, puppies. Drive is fueled by passion. But so if you don't have passion, do you not have any drive, Jim? What do you guys think about that? Because Jim said drive is fueled by passion.
You can't have drive without passion.
Yeah, well, see, and I was just going to say, Mordecai Holt said, passion is the underlying reason you keep driving.
Mordecai.
So I'm getting passion as the reason and drive is the action.
Yes.
But I think you can have passion without drive.
Yeah.
And you have drive without passion.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Well, I don't know, because I felt like I was chasing my purpose without working towards my passion or working something that I was passionate about. I was working in cybersecurity. I got my dream job. I had a job that today people would have retired from 15 years from now, but I really quickly realized I thought I knew what my purpose was, but I wasn't passionate about it. And I had drive for it. I woke up every day. I loved my job. I absolutely loved my job. Passion is the fearlessness.
To live your dream.
To live your dream. Oh,
Really
and
good.
that's actually really good. I like that as well.
We have a question.
I like
All right, question in from the Twitters.
From Patrick Mitchell. I think he's been trying.
Patrick.
I'm a little slow today.
Patrick.
He says, would you take the best skilled first baseman or the most passionate one?
Oh,
Wow.
that's
a
an
good
awesome question.
I think when you're working on a team, and so like we'll answer the team question there, and you're putting pieces together like that, you need to find people that have passion. It's not always about the most talented, especially if they're a cancer in the locker room. And Brian, has played sports, and I've played sports, and we both watch professional sports, and we're both avid Steeler fans, and we know that, hey, the biggest cancers in the locker room always cut, right? So, because they don't have passion. They're just very skilled at something. So you can have all the skill in the world, but if you don't have the passion, again, it's just bullshit.
Well, I'm a big advocate for hire for attitude, train for aptitude.
Absolutely.
Oh, hear that? Did you guys hear that? Say that again. Say that louder so they can hear. I know,
Hire
I'm putting
for
it on the spot.
attitude.
I can put it on the spot
train
now
for
because I'm in person with it.
Ooh.
Hire for attitude, train for aptitude.
Ooh, I like that
Yeah,
question.
and there are exceptions. If you're going to do brain surgery, you better
Exactly.
have
I want the
skill.
most skilled doctor.
But I think as a general mindset, I think it can.
But I think that's actually a good difference between team and not team.
Mm-hmm.
A surgeon is a solo, I would say they're supported, but they're not. I think of this like Moneyball from the sense of, what they were able to do is they were able to manufacture success based on the culmination of all the different pieces. So they're all repeating your quote. Depends on the show some skill, but passion with no skill is still a disaster. Very true. But passion with the desire to be trained. I always say about hire and fire for culture fit, but I believe someone that is willing to embrace change and willing to be trained can be extremely successful if you don't have that skill set. But I think a lot of times the problem ends up coming down to someone looks at change and they barrier themselves and they fight it. And rather than embracing it, they are someone that must be fired because they can never be trained to kind of accompany that skill. I think
there's
Chelsea
always
says that as
room
well.
for somebody with a great attitude, because they have a plus just being on the team. Like whenever I'm in a hiring situation, and not everybody is super skilled, but if someone's happy and they walk in and they motivate the team in that way, just like stoked to be at work.
So I have to give a shout out, Owen Hensworth. Owen's watching. Owen's fighting cancer right now. That guy's got drive, passion, dedication.
Wow.
So if you guys see Owen's Twitter handle out there, make sure you guys send him some love. He sent us some awesome comments, but he actually had a really good comment here. Owen said, "Passion doesn't care about the money, drive does," which I actually think is kind of a different way of looking at drive, right? It's a different approach to the concept of drive. But Owen, we love you, man. Keep fighting a good fight.
Owen, will we see you tomorrow? Or tomorrow evening?
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully we get to see you, because I know we're supposed to get together.
Have a job interview tomorrow for your dream job. Oh, I love it. And you know what? That's another one that I think is very interesting. Is your passion can change, right?
Yes.
But
so can you drive? I mean, to put his point, like a lot of people are motivated, they're driven by financial gain. A lot of people out there, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, we need it to get by in life. But passion could be your motivation to make money. Again, it's not anything bad, but I don't think it's the main motivator, and you don't need to be about money to have drive. Just to.
So Chelsea said, I was asked to join my last job because they saw my passion. They came to me. Yes, my passion has switched. Yes, my passion has switched as well many times. Actually, you know what? I will give a shout out to Tim McDonald. He actually said that I never knew what my passion was. My purpose had shifted, and I was chasing my purpose. But when I found my passion for what I consider teaching change, that kind of was truly my passion this entire time. It was blinded by my purpose of thinking that I wanted to be in IT. My person on thinking that being a senior VP at a company, and a tech company, was where I wanted to be. But really my passion was, if I wasn't being able to drive change and be a leader or be change from there, that really wasn't my passion this entire time. It was the ability to embrace change. It was just masked in the wrong thing. I think it's also another thing that sometimes your drive can mask what your true passion is, because you are so driven to be financially successful, and all of a sudden you hit that plateau and go, shit, why am I not happy? And then you look back and go, well, my passion really is helping fight hunger, No Kid Hungry, like Tim McDonald, give him, and now Tim switched, left Huffington Post. And the guy, I've never seen a more happy person on social media, on life. And it's because he looked at it and was like, got as successful as he ever wanted, and said, well, this isn't my happiness. So I think happiness is an interesting one. So our buddy over there at Stoneham Press, you often have to find passion via trying things. Via trying things and failing, in my opinion. All right, so what's question 3 there, Christin, Kardos?
All right, question 3. How has passion been a factor in your personal success?
Ooh, how has passion been a factor in your personal success is the question.
I think that's we already answered that in this discussion. I'm not saying we won't answer it again.
Are you critiquing our questions?
You can't think I could write a new question.
No, I'm saying we answered it in the extended discussion of question 2. Thank you very much.
Comes in as a cameo.
Okay, well, you know what? Can I fill in this gap with a question from Twitter?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
All right, awesome. Ben Phillips bringing the heat again. What is the dark and dangerous side of passion?
Well, I was going to answer question 3.
Oh,
What was the question?
You ruined it for everybody.
Where's the dark and what?
I think the dark side is that you can be blinded by it.
yeah.
You're less willing to pivot because you're kind of blinded by, I think is like what Brian said, like passions can change, or at least you can augment it over time. And I think if you get so caught up on it that you can hinder yourself.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, I also think when you look at change as a whole, I think sometimes people look at change as the reason that they have to change is because what they've done has failed prior to what they have, to get them to that point. And I often think it's what you've done has got you to the point where has allowed you to change, right? I think it's a different mindset. A lot of people look at it and say, hey, I'm changing now because I've failed at everything I've been doing. And that's not true in most cases. And yes, you can change because you suck and you failed a lot. But I mean, not to bury a team that we were talking about sports, but like the Cleveland Browns have tried to change 1,000 times and try to copy what everyone else is doing.
Most Cleveland
But
sports.
yeah, most Cleveland sports as a whole, and we're now alienating the entire state of Ohio. But I was born and raised to think that nothing ever good came from Ohio, so that's what happens when you're born in Pittsburgh. But for me, I actually think there's an element there where not only ability to embrace change, but to embrace change and being able to drive through failure while embracing change. Because I think some people, hey Rachel.
Hey Rachel.
The broadcast pros. Oops, sorry about that. We're on hotel Wi-Fi.
I'm on
Why are we
LTE.
saying hey to Rachel?
So it was Rachel. Subi's Zimmer is Rachel.
Oh, hey Rachel.
So
Coolest name ever.
coolest name ever. All right, so yeah, if you guys are out there, bring in your questions. Put your questions in on Twitter using the hashtag SBizHour. Yeah, I'm not sure why it froze.
Passion can be misunderstood as rebellion. Believe me. Ooh, that's good.
Depending
This
on
is from
Social Ben.
Social Ben.
Yeah, passion can. So, I mean, I have a.
That's a good point.
Yeah, rebellion. I mean, rebellion. I think oftentimes the reason that passion can be construed as rebellion is because oftentimes to drive true change, you have to be passionate enough to deal with the BS that's going on.
Case in point, Steve Jobs.
Yes, right. And I think I call it the on-demand generation, but I think we are living in an element where Steve Jobs was fired, hired, refired, then had to go back to the own company that he created, right? Because he was rebellious. He was passionate, so passionate that, I mean, he alienated friends. I mean, and I think passion doesn't always equal success, right? I think that's something we might misconstrue as well. That, passion oftentimes, more times than not, will lead you towards something that you feel that you want to do, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be successful at what you're doing. Because I hear a lot of people that tell me, and actually it's based on kind of this shirt, love what you do. Well, what if I don't love what I do, but I'm passionate? What do you guys think about that? Because they're passionate about they're very passionate people. They want to be successful, but right now today the job that they're doing 9 to 5 is not what they love to do. So if for them they're like, hey, I'm so passionate about it, people assume that I love what I'm doing, but I don't love what I'm doing, and my passion actually makes people assume that I love what I'm doing.
Well, if it were me, I would take steps to have my passion and work life coincide. But everyone's different. I mean, you can have a hobby that is not your 9 to 5, and that's your passion.
Fair.
I guess it depends on.
I've had periods in my life like that where work wasn't the thing that charged my batteries. It was something that I did, outside of work, volunteering and stuff like that. And ultimately, I was okay because I still had that.
Yeah,
That go-to
you need an
thing that I
outlet
was excited
for
about.
passion. But it doesn't have to be your main job.
It's always nice if you can have a 2 birds, 1 stone kind of.
Yeah, I mean that's the
Yeah.
dream, right? That you get
That's the
paid to
dream.
do what you love to do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Passion.
So I think Brian's question though, on top of it, it goes even further and says, can you, you may exude passion because you're doing your job, right? Even though you hate it. Right, Brian?
Yep.
But how do you kind of?
I don't see how you
I
can
don't know.
be passionate
Yeah.
about a job
Yeah, I
you
guess
hate.
you would be a true rock star. I
You
mean, I
could
guess it's
be-
like you're a customer service person. I mean, a lot of the customer service people that I admire don't always love their day job, but they rock at it. But they also have that innate service mindset.
There could be a difference in just doing a good job and getting, like someone mentioned in
someone
mine.
put in there. That's the difference between professionalism and passionate. Because if you're a true professional, you're going to do your job every day.
Right.
You're going to come in and do it. But if you're truly passionate about it, you're going to go above and beyond. I think that's an interesting comment.
Yeah, someone mentioned in my scope here, they made a comment and said, why is there a distinction if you're just getting your job done? So there are people that think like that, where you're just getting the job done. There's no.
But there's also like someone who's just getting the job done and they're a rock star. I mean, there's
True.
different tiers.
But I also think that there's many people out there that don't follow it. They don't care to follow their passion, right? So yeah.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're totally stoked just to get their 9 to 5 and go home and be with family, whatever. It's what makes you happy is you. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for those we just reset the Periscope. Apparently died.
You can jump back onto Brian's if you want, but
thank you for.
This
is Social Business Hour. We do this Twitter chat hangout every single Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. We're doing it for a year and a half. This is the first time we've met as the 4 of us in person in San Diego. we have myself, Brian Fanzo, Rachel Miller, Vincenzo Landino, and Christin Kardos. And so we're talking about really hard work, we're talking about drive, and we're talking about passion. And really not only their roles, but I mean, Rachel, give us a little background on, for those of you guys that don't know, like Rachel and I were both, we had never met till today, but we worked at 2 different companies, and I would say Rachel did a great job of being good at her job, where she got on my radar for me want to bring in the software that her company was bringing in. But kind of talk about what made you not only have the drive to want to make this community successful, but really what was your passion for what we're doing? I think that's something maybe not many people know.
Well, for me, I really like educating people, and I think this is a great forum. So I know when we came together, we saw there was a need in the community for like actionable information instead of just like high level, like you need to be social. It's like, we get that. Like, how about how? So we're out here doing the whys and the hows versus just the whats. And that's kind of what motivates me, and that's kind of like the end goal, is to just be an ongoing educational format. And it's cool that the community has embraced it. It's growing. We got so big so fast. We brought in Christin, and now we're able to pull in more people. So yeah, the results also motivate me. So just seeing that people are as stoked as we are is super cool.
Well, if no one's ever built a community or done something every single week, religiously every single week for 1 hour a week, as a hustle. Neither one of us had this as our full-time job. If you've never done that, you will never really understand what it means to do this kind of thing. And I commend anybody who has a Twitter chat that puts on a Twitter chat more than for a month and a half and then gives up. Or, you know, there's plenty of hurdles, there's plenty of things that we did. You know, not only having a guest, preparing questions, but I mean, I think you brought up a really good point. The community fuels a lot of our drive, right? I mean, it's amazing how many times people say, you know, we used to have to fight to get people on our show. Then we went to the other way where we had to turn away people because, you know, one of the reasons, the reason that when we set out to do what we were doing, Rachel said, Brian, I want to create something that has actionable takeaways, and said when people leave 1 hour spending with us, they have an actionable takeaway to do their job. And I think that was something that like really resonated with me. But I had no idea how hard it was to do something like this every single week, 1 hour a week, building a community. Because not only is it's a thankless task for the most part, but it's a thankless task during the early days until you have a community that like rallies around you. And I think to kind of wrap this around that hard work, drive, and passion, I think oftentimes my passion is fueled by random comments or a random tweet. Like you have no idea how a tweet that says, this was the best hour of my week, I'll be back next week, that fuels us for 4 weeks of showing up every week and doing something like that. And I think that's something that people often underestimate. And I think that's also something that, you know, when people are talking about monetizing what they're doing, but also finding their passion, your passion has to also kind of correlate with what you're doing. Like, you know, like if you're passionate about something and all you're doing is failing and hitting your head against the wall and you're by yourself, that sucks, and it's really, really freaking hard. And I don't think we can underestimate that, because I think sometimes I'm guilty of it, as I say, chase your passion. And I have people that say, Brian, I want to be like you. And I'm like, well, let me expose to you what it means to do what I'm doing, and the failures that come along with it, and the hurdles. And I think the sacrifice that comes along with it. I mean, and including, you know, this is every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. This doesn't change. There's no changing of the time. There's no doing it differently. And you know, we all, you know, even scheduling keynotes or scheduling something we're doing, or you're meeting with a client. This is an hour we have blocked off dedicated to this community. And I think that's something, when someone's passionate about something, they just do it, right? Like we've been doing it. It's something, you know, and I respect so many. There's so many ones out there. I mean, CMGR Hangout is one of my favorites of all time, because they've just been killing it for every Friday for weeks on end. They show up, Brew and Sherry and the whole CMGR team. But you know, I think that's something, when you think about it, if you're a community builder, you have to almost have passion. I mean, that's a good question. Can you be a community builder and not be passionate about the community?
No, because how can you build a community?
No, that's definitely one job where your passion needs to be the community and the topic that because you're connecting. You need to connect people with like-minded interests, and otherwise it's not your community.
So what other jobs exist where you have to be passionate about what you're doing, or you're screwed? I'm just curious. I'm asking because I'm trying to think out the top there.
That's interesting, actually. What job?
Someone just said you can be a community camp manager without being passionate about it. You just won't be a successful one.
Someone
I
said,
definitely agree with that.
That's true for anything. Correct.
Angie says
Yeah.
sports.
I think
Sports.
things that are really labor intensive are like long hours where you just would be more likely to physically cave, like
Yeah.
something like
I think
the law or.
I was gonna say the law, the Marines, like
Oh,
stuff like that.
military.
Military.
Military,
It's
yeah,
not necessarily a
It's a
profession,
great
but
example.
you absolutely have to be passionate about something that you're not just gonna sign up.
I think
for.
being a good teacher is
Oh,
one.
yes.
Yep.
Because teachers get paid shit. They get the only time the parents ever call them is usually because they're mad because their kid got a bad grade or they disagree because they think you're lying about their kid, smacking out their kid. I think a teacher's an interesting one.
You're
But
right.
actually, when you say sports, I actually disagree in sports because Barry Sanders never loved and had passion for playing football. He was really freaking good at it. He wanted to build what he had done, but he left the sport way young because he realized that he had a bigger passion for being a dad and doing what Barry Sanders wanted to do. So I think Barry Sanders is kind of the exception to the rule when it comes to sports because he realized that he just didn't have a true passion for it.
We have a question.
All right.
Is this a good time?
Yeah, bring in a question.
We have a question from Steve McMurray, aka Newbie Steve.
Steve.
He asks, can being too passionate cloud realistic expectations and outcomes in business, or is it that thought process that leads to failure?
Ooh, man, Newbie Steve. And make sure you guys check him out. Newbie Steve is awesome. He's always dropping the data, and their tool is very cool from a standpoint of what they're providing. So I think it's a great question for those that, really when it comes down to it, can passion be a bad thing for your business?
So the question was,
Right.
can being too passionate cloud realistic expectations and outcomes in business, or is it that thought process that leads to failure?
Oh, Rachel's opinion on this. I'm curious.
Well, so I have a soft spot for startups and nonprofits, and I've seen a lot of them fail because they start with passion and they forget to put their ducks in a row and get their business plan and go about it the right way, and they kind of screw up their baseline for success really early on. And that's just kind of being blinded by passion. So yeah, it can definitely hinder you.
Passion is contagious. That's why the energy fuels the success. I agree with that element of
That
it.
comment said, yeah.
Um,
I'm taking out of context
right.
of the question, yeah.
But no, I think that's actually a very good question in the sense that because I would flip it the other way, because a company or a person is extremely passionate about what they're doing, that does not mean they're extremely successful.
Preacher Miller.
Right.
Because I think being successful does not always link to someone being extremely passionate. Because I think unfortunately, your passion job, your passion role, your passion in life might not be success from other people's views as well. Like, financial being one of them, but really like where you want to be in 10 years, and I think sometimes passion can also be looked at as a bad thing. I don't think we talked about that, but the idea of being passionate sometimes makes it sound like if you're so passionate, you're not willing to do the hard work or some of the work that is I would say, the blocking and tackling is one of my favorite things. And someone says,
Of course.
and I have no problem ever rolling up my sleeves, but I often sometimes overlook the importance of blocking and tackling, right? So I think that sometimes happens from a passionate side of it as well. And success doesn't always mean money. I mean, for me, I've always said that success equals happiness. There is an element of money making happiness because you want to be able to, accomplish what you want to accomplish to be happy. But I think also what one person's passion can be construed or conveyed in a different way. Because I am loud, I talk a lot. I've met a lot of people that are really passionate, even more passionate than myself, that aren't the same demeanor, aren't the same come across. And I think maybe that's my caveat. Is I would ask you, the audience, or maybe the community as a whole, to look at what people are passionate about, not because they're out there talking all the time, or that they're the loudest person in the room, or they're the ones always doing it, but maybe they're passionate about it because they refuse to give up. They work 80 hours a week. When they wake up on Sunday and they're sick, they're still sending the email newsletter because they care that much about their community. They're afraid of video. They won't get on Periscope. And I mean, this is for someone that's telling people to get on all these devices, right? But like, I think it's something that we often overlook, and unfortunately, it's something that we hopefully will not continue to overlook. I think you can be good at your job and you don't have to be passionate about it. Very true. I agree. So what else coming in from the Twitters?
Top Cat said, Social business hour starts at 9 p.m. London time. The 1 hour in the week that causes my wife and I to fight because I can't miss social business hour. Is that passion?
That is passion, and that helps us drive. That gives fuels our drive. That fuels our drive, and we continue to work hard. I mean, we can use all the buzzwords in our one. So we still have 19 minutes left. So if you have questions, what's up, Jason and Vincenzo Swagbot? Say hello from Missouri. What's up, Swagbot? How's it going?
What's up?
Welcome to Social Business Hour. So we have here, passion and stupid is still stupid.
That's true.
Well played, Tim. Well played,
That's
Tim.
like almost anything combined with stupid is still stupid.
Well, and you can't fix stupid, right? You can't fix stupid in that
But also there's an element of like, I'm going to sound like a broken record from when I was on with you, but of being grounded in reality too, a healthy dose of it. You don't want to be defeatist, but I mean, have some. But it would be stupid for me to think I could go and off the top of this building and fly. I mean, there's a limit to.
Maybe later.
You know what I mean?
Depends on how many drinks you have if you're gonna fly.
Successfully fly that. So
yes, it's true.
Technically be flying. It's all about perception.
So
I have a passion for flying. Doesn't mean when I jump out the window here that I will actually be successful at it. But,
your passion has to combine with something you either can do well or are able to learn.
there you go. I do
well.
social media for wildfires and disasters.
Oh,
Passion
wow.
is huge. Yes, you're probably right. I mean, I can imagine. And I think that's also another one, like, is underestimated skill of a social media manager.
Did we all meet on social
Right?
media? Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
We all met on social media. And passion is what brought two of these ladies here because Christin and Rachel originally weren't coming. Brian and I were here. Brian was speaking at the event. I think you weren't coming. I'm just going to stick to the story. You weren't coming, but you came because we were all going to be here.
Yeah.
And
I said
I'm
I'm
working.
crashing
I have
that.
no excuses.
So because of meeting on social media and having passion for, you know, the things that we do, like the show, it is what brought us together.
There's totally a social media day event like an hour from my house, but I flew here.
Hey, how about this one? So Chocolate Johnny said he's passionate about his business, but he's been too emotionally involved. So is there a difference between passion and
that's a good
emotion?
one.
Which is funny because you know what? Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary, what do you say?
Roscoe's Hair Products brought them together.
Well, Chocolate Johnny, and guys, follow Chocolate Johnny. He's doing some awesome things. I love what he's doing. Actually, I think that's a very interesting concept on really the emotional element. And I think Gary Vaynerchuk has a blog post out today about the 4 things that make the 4 changes that a company needs to make to their culture. And one of them is talking about, you know, and he actually tells you to hire on emotion. And he has a very good point. So I tweeted it out earlier. I will tweet it back out later on. It's on Gary Vaynerchuk's. Everybody here knows who Gary Vaynerchuk is. We don't have to qualify that. But I actually thought it was really interesting. I read it this morning at about 5:30. And I think the idea of emotion, I think doing some things based on only emotion, by like, you know, giving away your profit, right? You know, or, you know, for me, I don't think I can ever say no to someone asking for money that's a military vet. And that's something that is really, really emotional for me because I just feel like we're missing the boat on rewarding those that have served our country. So sometimes I will make decisions that will cost me. For example, I was in Las Vegas. I gave away $20 before realizing that I didn't have my ATM card in my pocket. Therefore, I had no cash, and I emotionally was invested to give him $20 as a vet, and then go in and realize I had no cash to even get home, missed my flight. I ended up having to get Western Union to, you know, and like, you know, when you look at things like making an emotional decision sometimes without, you know, and I think that's, in my opinion, the reason I love live streaming. Live and real does not make it an excuse not to have a strategy. Right. And being emotional doesn't mean that you don't have a strategy for what you're doing. Sometimes emotion comes into what your strategy is. I think that's kind of my long-winded way of saying it's an interesting link to what we're doing, that's for sure.
I have a couple more questions.
All right, bring in the questions, yes.
All right, one from Sarah Thomas. She says, once you've found your passion, how do you keep the flames burning? Well, she said a burning, which is how I'm saying it.
A burning.
How do you
Keep the flames a burning.
She said, do you try new SM methods? I don't know if she means social media, I guess. Anyway, the point is, how do you keep, she didn't say SM. How do you keep it going, basically? How do you keep your passion stoked?
Well, I guess for me, like I shared earlier, I'm very task oriented. So I stick to my day where I get small wins every hour, basically. So it keeps me going with just keeping success. current.
Passion drives itself, Chelsea says.
I find that even with things that I super love, I have a tendency to just run hard, and I will need a break every so often, just to kind of just take a little breather and come back, and that usually is all I need.
Well,
say.
What about the element of, I think, other people that understand your passion or share your passion is the element there where you can kind of, because I think passion, not being burnt out is one thing, but kind of being frustrated. Like my whole concept of screenshot awesomeness was really around the idea that I wanted to have a portfolio that anytime I was down and out, anytime I was pissed off that I couldn't drive change. Who's that? What are you laughing about?
Oh no, somebody asked if we were all scared to meet you for the first time.
I wasn't scared. I was excited.
But one of the things I actually thought about from a standpoint of, like for me is, I can be passionate as hell about something, but being able to have someone that understands that passion or shares that passion, that allows me to continue to be the fuel and allows me to kind of go through the field. And I think that's why that portfolio of awesomeness meant something to me, because I'm able to tap into that and say, man, this sucks today, but all this other success refuels that drive, right? It's almost like that Kickstarter. And if you have those people in your life, I think that's key. I think reverse mentorship, I think coaching is a huge aspect now that we can't underestimate when you have someone that can coach you and really that understands. There's a difference between a coach and a manager in the sense that a coach has no other drive other than your success or the success of what we're working towards, where a manager often has to weigh company success, personal success, and your success.
But they both have goals, which is
correct.
important. And I truly feel you cannot be successful without goals. And I think that's why a lot of people and businesses go awry, because they don't have goals set. You need short-term and long-term and the ultimate goal. And that should keep you motivated daily, weekly, yearly to success.
What's that saying about if you don't know where you're going?
Passion is overrated sometimes because it comes and goes, but discipline is more important.
Discipline's more important than passion?
I think you need both.
Drive.
Discipline is more important.
Don't you think that to be driven, you need to have discipline? You have to have a lot of self-discipline to be driven.
No.
I agree. I think so, because you can't, again, like going back to your point earlier, Brian, yes, you can have passion, but you can have passion and then forget about all the other little things, like you said, blocking and tackling. So that's part of discipline. But that's.
Well, but when I think of discipline, I sometimes think of things being methodical in the sense where you're not allowing yourself to expose the other things that fuel your passion. So if you're so disciplined that you are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 13 was the thing that actually was going to fuel your passion, but because you were only going in numerical order, you would never get to 13. Like because I look at discipline sometimes from that sense of it. But I mean, I can understand that for sure.
I think it's like so many
Oh,
other
there you
things in the
go.
universe.
Jilly Sue, I have strong discipline, but sometimes self-doubt gets in the way. And Jilly, I love you because you're very transparent like me. We connect on that way. But self-doubt's an interesting one.
Fine lines. There's just fine lines everywhere. I mean.
Yeah, you need to be realistic. I mean, you can't be.
You need
and again, it's
mixture.
everything in moderation. You can't be overly passionate because you're going to hinder yourself, because you're going to blind yourself to the goals, and you can't be overly driven or disciplined because again, it's about having a healthy dose of each characteristic.
Well, look at social media. I think social media is the perfect example of the biggest time suck that exists. If anybody is on Periscope, literally Periscope needs a 12-step program because it is so damn addicting to watch other people's streams, watch how they do it, to engage in all this community growing. But if you don't have discipline, to your guys' point, I'm kind of going back on kind of recanting my answer here a little bit, is social media becomes a time suck black hole if you don't have discipline, if you don't understand your goals and a strategy. Because I think actually one of the worst things from personal brand's perspective, a lot of people want to build a personal brand without a strategy and without goals. And you cannot build that, because even when you define your story, if your story does not have a strategy and goals behind it, everything you're doing is sporadic and unplanned. And I am the anti-planner. Thankfully, Rachel's the planner. So that's how Social Business Hour operates every week. But at the same time, I have goals and a strategy that aligns with yours. And yes, and a passion to never shut up.
We got another good question.
Another good question.
Anna Cochran asks, do you find that following your passion and purpose is more relevant today as there is more talk in media on the subject about it?
I have an answer to that. I actually think it's more relevant today because we have the power to be our own best advocates, our own best storytellers, our own best salesperson, our own best marketers. Before, and let's rewind 1995, and this isn't too long ago, but 1995, if you had your passion, your soapbox, your biggest outlet, your biggest input of what other people were doing was what was happening around your town and what you saw on the TV that was very filtered and very polluted, but
Okay, there was
controlled.
a relay chat back then.
In a relay chat, yes, there was a relay chat. But I think today, the reason this whole millennial concept to me comes around is millennials aren't any different than any of the Gen Xers or the baby boomers. We just have the best soapbox, the best platform to connect around the world and tell our story, tell our passion, and not settle for change. Because I believe there was baby boomers in every city that shared the exact same passion, the exact same dedication for change in all of these cities. They just didn't have social media to be able to amplify that and rally around it. I mean, look at Love Wins. Love Wins was like tearing me up watching all of these different things happen around the world. And because imagine Love Wins. Imagine this movement attempt without social media, without digital, without web, without us being able to rally behind people. When I'm getting messages from people in Australia and people from UK being like, dude, we're tuning in. I don't know if that message is conveyed in a amplified, scaled way if it wasn't for today. That's why I can honestly say I would probably hate growing up 20 years ago, right? I mean, I really would have thought if I was born 20 years earlier, it's just something that for me, this is something that I think we're in a world now that we can drive change, we can work together. With that whole we is greater than me is so possible because we have the connecting links now to make that change happen. But I love that question, Anna Cochran.
That was a darn good answer.
Thank you.
Ask me. I vote that I'm making an executive decision. So the fourth question is going to be, and final question on our end is going to be, what's the key to success?
What's the key to success? So if you're on Meerkat, you're on Periscope, thank you for the hearts. Thank you for swiping and sharing. What are the keys to success? And it's hearts.
Getting more hearts.
Hearts on Periscope.
No,
actually,
you
know what?
We won't stream.
My favorite part about being asked to be on the Periscope Summit was because I was the only person under 1 million hearts.
Really?
And it proved that hearts did not equal success, and you do not have to have hearts on live streaming to be successful. Because I was like, if someone would have gauged our streams only by hearts being successful. So in that vein, I think something that we make a mistake with when we're talking about success, especially data, is if you are using one variable to determine success, I think that is a mistake. Clout score, hearts, all of these things, especially in the social media. Yes, we were mentioning clout scores earlier. But I actually think that is something that we need to calibrate, because I also think success, when we're looking at vanity is something that is too often looked at success. You've published 3 books, that does not make you successful. Anyone can really self-publish something today.
True.
If you have 3,000 people buying your books and changing their lives with them, I think that's success, right? I think for me, that's kind of where it goes. What about you, Rachel?
Well, I think my version of success is different to your version of success. It's different to Vincenzo's and Christin. So I think at the end of the day, you need to know what your own success looks like. And then, again, back to goals. It's like my soapbox for the day. Build out your steps to get to your success. Because, yeah, like maybe you do want to write 3 books, and that's going to be like your opus. That's it. I don't want to write 3 books. That's not going to be my tier of success. But you need to know what it means to you to be successful and happy. Otherwise, you're never going to be. So I think and everyone can go home and write that down, because what does it mean to be happy to you? And if it's based purely on professional or personal, like family, whatever your goals are, and whatever you think is going to make you happy, it's going to vary from the person sitting next to you.
No, I couldn't agree more. And actually, Jilly Sue said something here, and I know this is something I think we all disagree on. We all have a different view. So what about broadcasting and celebrating your success? So
broadcasting and celebrating your own successes?
Yeah, so your own successes. So Jilly Sue just put in there that she's perturbed and tired of people soapboxing and promoting their own success.
I think there's different ways of going about it, though. There's celebrating your own victories, because if you aren't celebrating yourself, or you aren't being your biggest cheerleader, then many times others won't be. But there's also the flip side of that, and constantly putting it out there in a tactless way. Tactless.
I think you need to
in
have
a way where you're go ahead.
You need to have a healthy dose of both. Like, I think it's fine to, because I get stoked and I share certain things too, but I also share the success of my friends and my family.
Exactly.
So I think if you're always out there promoting positive, like people doing great things, then it's not so polarizing. I think if you only ever share your own success, I think that's when people get.
Sean says, if the victory benefits the community, then do it. Ross says.
No, I would jump on that and say not only does a victory benefit the community, but the root of what you did to get successful, if exposing that benefits the community.
Yeah.
Because, and this is something that this touch homes with me. I struggle with this because I am one that I promote and celebrate my own success probably more so than anybody. And for me, it's something that I've always said, I want people around me that celebrate my successes because I want to celebrate theirs. But I can honestly tell you, my last two biggest achievements in the last 2 weeks, I have not promoted out on social media, only because of the fact that I don't want to come across as a person that does that, right? So that is something that never used to really shelter my way of doing it, but it has in the last 2 weeks actually adjusted the way I actually self-promote my victory. Because I also have a benefit here where one victory does not mean you won the war, right? And I guess that's the whole, I'm not saying this is war, but I'm saying in the sense that ultimately when you're driving change or trying to make all these things happen, having